The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Sweet home Alabama, where the skies are blue. Sweet home Alabama. Round 6 of 15 on the iRacing Drivers Association's GT3 Series is coming home to you, or more specifically, to Barber Motorsports Park. And all the action from Green Flag to Victory Donuts will be brought to you live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. This quarter-hour streamy award-worthy pre-race show will count us down to the first of 3 rolling starts. 3 starts? That's right. There are 2 15-minute heats and a 20-minute main event on tap for the Mercedes, the BMWs, the Audis, the McLarens, and the Fords that make up today's GT3 grid. So get the nerdy neighbor kid to hook up the internet feed to the big screen, fry up some dill pickles, crack open a can of Repico, put your feet up, and enjoy the simulated sports car excitement that will be streaming your way. From the heart of Dixie, welcome to another GSRC broadcast. I'm your host, Bill Soupzon, foolishly convinced to get up at this unholy hour to keep me from misidentifying the corners is Adam Young. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is our multi-talented director, Amjad Yaman, and at his disposal will be the camera locations provided by the Ansel Adams of iRacing, Dougie Beer. This broadcast is made possible thanks to the good folks at The Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia. And to keep things interesting, 500 Waltzing Matildas are up for grabs in the prize Tucker bag. Now, if you were with us last time for round 5 from Spa, you saw Richard Greeneggs and Hampstead outpace newcomer and teammate Dylan Sharman in the 2-hour mini enduro. Zachary Hanlon had an exciting and event-filled run to 3rd. Adam, today the series leaves Belgium to visit the southeastern part of the U.S., Barber Motorsports Park.
Which, Bill, is only a facility that's been open since 2003, making it one of the newer tracks in the United States. In its narrow length, with only a handful of passing opportunities, has presented a challenge to many a race car driver. The track itself measures 2.38 miles around, or 3.83 kilometers for our Aussie friends racing today, and covers 15 turns. It's led to some spectacular battles like Simon Pagenaud and Graham Rahal in this year's IndyCar race. It's a fast, shorter track with a lot of corners in a short amount of time. Let's go ahead and ride along with the GSRC car to learn more about this facility.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Barber. Coming down to turn 1, you've got a blind, quick left-hander where it's both easy to upset the car on entry or push wide on exit. But there's no time to relax because you swing right into the Alabama roller coaster. You've got to let the car drift wide mid-corner, then cut back in, just clip that late apex, and get a good run off the turn. One more blind crest over 4, and then we're heading towards Charlotte's Web. The track drops away in the braking zone, making it very easy to overshoot. But this is the best place on track to attempt to pass, so you need to be brave on the brakes to keep from being vulnerable. Getting traction out of this hairpin will be important because you really don't want to be too wide heading into Museum Corner. You can make passes into here, but they're more like a game of chicken than anything else. It's single file through each of these 3 apexes, all the while the track is dropping away and the car is clattering over the curbs. At the bottom of the hill, the car compresses and you gotta get back to the power as soon as you feel it stick. Up next is 10 and 11. This scary fast chicane requires a big lift and a precise line, or else you'll find the car skidding into the runoff. Then swing it to the right and set the car up for 12 and 13. Here, you chuck it in the left-hander and try to slow up the car at the same time. Then the track climbs once more, but the top of the hill makes the car light right when you're trying to track out to the edge. There's no rest before you're thrown into 14 and 15, which act as one long corner ending in the latest apex you've ever seen. Hold tight to the right on the exit because the entry into the final corner will be much more important. Use the banking as much as you can to carry speed onto the front stretch, and if you kept it on the black stuff, you finished a lap around Barber.
And there's a lap around Barber. You know, this track being only 13 years old gives me hope that new tracks do not need to resemble racing on painted parking lots. This place really has an old school feel to it. Now, before we take a look at the standings, I'm obligated to mention once again that the GSRC stat boys, Simon and Poindexter, were hard at work in the smoke-filled catacombs on the GSRC campus, crunching the numbers for these points overlays that take into account the one dropped race that the IDA rules allow for. And we are proud to show them for the first time anywhere right now. Starting with the driver points, coming off his 4th consecutive win, including a double-point mini-enduro win last time at Spa. It is no surprise to see Richard Greeneggs and Hampstead way out in front by a whopping 215 points. The race for second is much more competitive. Justin Strickland has finished with triple digits in 4 out of the 5 races. His season debut, where he only scored 70 points, sits in his pocket as drop insurance. In a similar position is Simon Fiegel, just 30 markers behind Strickland. Just 5 back is Michael Healy, quietly sitting in 4th with Riley Blythe 30 points behind Healy. Healy and Blythe have both already dropped 1 no-show result, so their drop insurance is used up. Moving to the team standings. Again, remember, these numbers take into account the dropped races. Element Motorsports 1 has fallen out of the lead, dropping into 3rd. John Piesnick and Scott Tamlin have not contributed at the same pace they were earlier on in the season. So at the top, we find Evolution Racing Aussie 1 and Team TTL deadlocked. Now, as you can see on the chart there, that ERA 1 has Zachary Hanlon and Riley Blythe combining for those points, while Greeneggs is the solo venture for TTL. Jackson Freer and Jeremiah Salty Morton has Lit Motorsports in 4th, and strong arming their way back into the top 5 is Apex Mafia Racing, gunned by Martin Slavasi and Mark Simon. So Adam, we've talked about the track, we've talked about driver points and team points. Why don't you take a second to go over the event format and the race details?
Absolutely, Bill, and this is what IDA likes to call their super sprint format. So we're in qualifying right now, which early preview, Richard Hampstead pretty much dominated that part of it. And then as soon as that gets done, we'll set the grid for the morning heat, which is only going to be a 15-minute race, and that's going to set the grid for the next race, which is the afternoon heat. The drivers will get about 10 minutes to warm up between the 2 heats, and then sets up for the main event, a late afternoon 20-minute race, and that one will be for all the money, for all the points, and it'll be, so you got 3 short races in order to try to make your way up through the field if you happen to have a bad qualifying run during our first session here that's going on right now. Of course, we're running with the GT3 series cars today, which with the eligible vehicles being the Audi, the BMW, the Mercedes, the McLarens, and of course the Ford GT. Open setups, which dynamic weather, with only a couple minutes between each session to get that car tuned in for the weather for each session. There is no restriction on fuel. There is no mandatory pit stop. Instant cap is set at 46, and then minus 10 race points for every 15 incidents you have. So you're going to want to keep all 4 wheels on the track around this twisty layout. And of course, we already talked about the weather being dynamic for each race today, and I think that could be the thing that plays a pretty big role, particularly in setting up these vehicles.
And just to follow up on that incident cap, we were talking to the series managers earlier on. If you use up 46, that's 46 for each heat. So if you use up 46 incident points in a 15-minute heat, not only will you be disqualified, but Adam will actually fly to Australia and toilet paper your house. So, I mean, if that's just ridiculous. Now, let's. And I say that as Scott Tamlin at Spa in the 2-hour mini enduro that we had last time, went into triple digits in incident points, and actually he lost. It's every 15 points you lose 10 actually race points. He lost 100 race points for all of his incidents that he picked up at Spa. Well, Spa will do that to you. Now, Adam, let's talk about rhythm and how hard it might be to have rhythm and get your feel here with this 15-minute race. Then you break it in 15 minutes again, and then 20. Could be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you don't have a while to get settled into the car. I mean, you're going to have to come out swinging as far as being in that rhythm, being ready. And, I'm seeing a lot of guys having some problems in the practice session, so that could make for a challenge, particularly in the first heat.
And again, one of the keys to this is to try to survive to the end. Adam and I, we've raced a lot, and Adam, when's the most dangerous time of the race? In the beginning or at the end? What would you say?
In the beginning.
And we
Absolutely.
Have and we have 3 of those now on this tiny little track, so I think our director is going to be pretty busy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to remember, Barber Motorsports Park, initially, I mean, they always had cars in mind, but it was mainly designed for motorcycles. I mean, that's part of the reason why it's not very wide at all. And here we are with these big GT3 cars, and we're going to have to stuff all of them. I believe we've got 22 guys here so far today. We're going to have to try to stuff all of them into turn 1 3 different times over the course of the next hour and a half.
And we were talking before the race as we watched Gary Spiral Slice Hamilton spin out his Ford. That's usually the only Ford in the event. The lap times here are about 1:20. You take into like Lime Rock, which is one of the favored one. Another short track runs maybe about a minute lap time, maybe a little less than that. It has 5 corners. This one is squeezing in 6 corners in 1:20. You're turning a lot here. Not a bit of long straights to take a break.
Yeah, I think you mean 15 or 16 corners, depending on how you ask. So you got a lot of corners in a short amount of time, and that goes back to that rhythm thing. I mean, you have to be in a rhythm in order to set a good lap time here. I mean, we don't have a lot of a gap, at least looking at our qualifying times, between the top and the bottom. So you got to come out ready. You really do, both mentally and physically at this facility.
Now, there are no BMWs today, which is really a shame, because I would think that the I'm going to call it a Beamer. People are going to yell at me about that. That's how I was raised. I guess it's a Beamer. I would think that would do kind of well here without a lot of top speed, but nobody's racing those. They can't change into it once you make your decision, you're stuck with that car. These curves probably aren't too friendly for the Mercedes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either, but, surprisingly, the Mercedes that I've seen on track here during the qualifying session have been, pretty much on rails. It's been the Audis I've been seeing having a lot of problems, so we're going to have to keep our eyes on the guys driving those cars.
Okay, we're just about wrapping up. There's about a minute left to go here in qualifying. Let's go ahead and look if we have any unusual times. It's not surprising to see Richard Hampstead up there, and of course drivers are still putting in their hot laps. Let's go ahead and see qualifying times from the top. Our pole sitter, Richard Hampstead, put in a 1:19.4. Looking down at the bottom, it's running at 1:21.7 from Nathan Waddell, 1:21.7. That seems to be down there. So that's about 2 seconds, 2.3 seconds. Again, with a 15-lap race, I guess the one thing a 15-minute race, the one thing we don't have to worry about today, obviously pit stops and lap traffic, maybe.
Not with 2 seconds between the top and bottom of the field. I'm hoping we don't have to worry about lap traffic, unless, of course, we do have some incidents here at the start, which kind of sets the guys a few back. But those are going to be the guys that I can guarantee you they're probably going to be fighting pretty hard to stay on the lead lap. They might not just give way to the leader if that situation happens, because they know that they're going to be able to get right back up there for the next heat, where if otherwise, well, I think you want to stay on the lead lap here if at all possible.
All right, let's call out the grid. I'm almost positive it's a rolling start, so we have a little bit of time. If this is a standing start, I apologize. Look, let's go ahead and take it a row at a time there. Adam, on the front row, it's Richard Hampstead. Outside of him, it's John Piesnick. Adam?
Row 2, Zachary Hamlin starting in 3rd, Jake Maloney starting in 4th.
Then the third row is made up by Simon Fiegel and Gary Spiral Sliced Hamilton.
Inside of row 4, Scott Tamlin. Outside of row 4, Michael Healy.
Next row is Mark Rayner, and then coming off a great race at Spa, Justin Strickland.
Next up, we have Warren Pickering starting in 11th, and Martin Silvestri starting on the outside of row 6.
Jeremiah Salty Morden in the 4th position, and David Jellings behind him.
Clint Smith starting 15th on the inside of row 8, and Jackson Freer on the outside of row 8 and 16th.
Let's congratulate Clint. He is a father. He had a happy baby here. Came just after last race. Phil Gadd and Mark Simon in 17th and 18th.
Row 10 brings us TJ Brown and Nino Natalie.
Nino Natalie is a new member in. He was a wild card last race. He's now a permanent member. Jared Tyerman and Aaron Farmer in 21st and 22nd. And our last car on the grid, as we mentioned before, with a time of 1:21.788, Nathan Waddell. And that compares to Richard Green Eggs and Hamilton's 1:19.437. The drivers have worked their way around through the first corner and then around through the Alabama roller coaster. Now as they work in, I believe this is corner 5 here. I know it as Charlotte's Web. This left-hander, so a lot of people call it the hairpin.
It's one of the tighter corners on this track, and it's definitely going to be one to watch out for, particularly on the first lap of each sprint race that we have today. Remember, we got to go through there 3 times at the start of a race here today.
And then this is Museum Corner here. It's kind of like the Corkscrew Light. Has that same feel as you dive down with a right and a left there. Feels kind of like the Corkscrew. Not quite the same bite as the Corkscrew, though, Adam.
No, you don't have the elevation change either right there. I mean, you do have quite a bit,
little bit,
definitely
yeah.
not as much as Laguna Seca. And that's one thing too, is that this track does have quite a bit of elevation change all the way around. Not as much as some, but it's a natural terrain road course. You mentioned painting parking lots earlier, and this facility is definitely not that.
Then this lap is just about done as they work through this left-hander. Then they have this long swoop. I'm sorry, it's a right-hander there. Then this long swooping right-hander where the pace car is going to pull off the track. Now, it's going to pull off right here, but they're not going to go racing until they come around this final left-hander. So let's go ahead and look at the field there. Richard Hampstead out in front, holding him back right now. On the outside of him, John Piesnik. Piesnik has that opening debut race win. Boy, they are holding it up right now. Hampstead, now Hampstead's on the gun. Look at this car moving in. That's Zachary Hanlon trying to squeeze in between right away on this very first heat race. Boy, when he doesn't get it done, but he is going to get second position. We have an accident in the back. It looks like it is Silvestri was part of it. And now we have
it's
another
in the front.
Up front. Hanlon is in the wall. We'll get the replay there. A lot of action going on in the very beginning. Looks like Piesnik in that McLaren got into Hanlon. Piesnik not happy with that either. I think he's blaming himself. There you see, we're right on board with Piesnik. There you see him getting into it. You see Piesnik pointing at the wall there at him. And then you don't see what happened to Hanlon. Also got turned. There you see Hanlon.
Just racing incident going hard right on the first lap, and now they're going to have some ground to make up, and they've got only 3 very short races to do it.
Yeah, we saw Piesnik. He won, as I mentioned, the season opener. Then he had a horrible race when they had one of these super sprints before. He just could not get that car working. Piesnik, of course, driving one of the few McLarens out here. Let's go ahead and set the field right now. Richard Hampstead, no surprise, out in front by 2.4 seconds. Let's go back. Now, these guys are just going to want to bring it home safely. Jake Maloney in second, Simon Fiegel in third, Scott Tamlin in fourth, and then rounding out the top field in that Ford. Boy, I love that Ford. That's a sleek-looking machine. Gary Spiral Slice Hamilton.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to want to keep my eye on here over the course of the next couple laps is Scott Tamlin ended up getting into the back of Jake Maloney pretty hard right in that. And we got more action on the track as Nathan Waddell got turned around.
Boy, it was Waddell, and then he got into... There were 2 cars involved. Mark Simon, is this the same incident I'm looking at? He got into it with Simon. Now, Waddell, you remember, started at the back of the pack, so it's tough to start back there and still find trouble.
And we also had, excuse me here, Jared Tyreman get around there at one point. In fact, he's just now getting pointed back straight back onto the track. He'll continue on his way.
Let's go up to second position right now. Jake Mahoney just had a little bit of a missed the apex there, and Fiegel was making a run on him. Remember, I really don't see there are no points here, Adam. Right now, they're 12 minutes into it. If I'm these guys running up front, I know I still have 2 more restarts to do. I'm just thinking, boy, look at Mahoney is really having trouble getting that car to hook up. I'm just thinking, bring the car home safely.
Yeah, you're going to have to. And get back to my previous point there, as we saw Maloney get wide. You know, he might have a little bit of damage. I'm not really seeing much visually, but he might have a little bit after Scott Tamlin got into the back of him during that first incident. Scott Tamlin should have at least a little bit of front end damage too. So, you know, if iRacing, the way it works, if it completed any kind of suspension damage or tire damage or anything else during that incident for those guys, they're going to have their hands full here for the next 11 minutes as we try to get around Barber. And this is a facility that if you have any kind of damage at all in your car, with the exception of aerodynamics, I mean, it's not a terribly fast track, but it will expose anything mechanically wrong with the car.
Couple good news for Maloney there. He's going to get... Boy, that car really takes a weird angle into those corners as we continue to watch him. Good news for him is he'll get a new car. The damage doesn't carry over from heat race to heat race, so he'll get a fresh car there. And because I mispronounced his name as Mahoney, he'll earn himself a $5 curve candle at St. Cyprian's Church. So there you go. And if you're playing the drinking game where Zahn mispronounces your name, take a sip.
Well, at least you're not sending me to Australia with those plane tickets to TP people's houses.
I think everyone's safe here on this one. Let's see if we can find a battle a little far. We've run about the top 5. Why don't we run down the next 5 right now? Michael Healy running in 6th position. Mark Rayner taking a peek at him. These guys are all behaving now up here. Justin Strickland running in 8th. It looks like he's in another McLaren. There he is. Yeah, not many McLarens out there. That's best in class right now. Even though all the cars are in the same class, we like to see those McLarens do well. Warren Pickering in 9th, and then rounding out the top 10, Martin Slavasi.
Yeah, everybody's pretty much getting themselves nice and spread out. This is the part where you really try to start setting your rhythm. And, you know, mentally with the rhythm, once you get it set, that should help you carry over into the next race. So this first race, I mean, even though we're really only setting the starting position for the next heat, it's still very important. You still want to get yourself set up to start working hard for the next 2 races.
Jump back to 18th position. We'll just get an update on Joe Piesnick there. You know, he's had that problem early, again in another McLaren, the only 2 that are out there, I believe. Running in 18th. He's got a ways to go. Oh, and now we've had the pass. Maloney finally has given up that position. We kind of could feel that one coming.
He got off track there to allow for that. Almost lost it going into turn 1. The rear end of the car breaks loose on him. He goes into the gravel trap here. Amazing job hanging on to that.
Nice job from him. That was very impressive.
And only lose 1 spot.
Yeah, and actually it looks like Tamlin has got by him, and now he's being pressured by the Ford of Hamilton. So your top 5 changes up a little bit. Fiegel in 2nd, Tamlin in 3rd, Maloney back to 4th, and Gary Hamilton in 5th. Oh, and there Maloney is off again.
Yeah, he's going to lose another spot here, this time to Gary Hamilton. But he's still fighting hard on the outside, but I don't think he's going to be able to hang on.
They go side by side. Now be careful, boys. This is just the first heat. Maloney's going to have the preferred position, but that Ford has a little more horsepower on this short straight and takes it in. And And
it gets into him.
There's a little help. Luckily, they get it straightened out. Look at that McLaren of Justin Strickland shoot the gap between Maloney and Hamilton. Maybe we can get an onboard from Strickland's point of view in a second. Look at this. We'll see the contact from Maloney on the back of the Ford of Spiral Slice Hamilton. There he turns him. And then watch that yellow McLaren. There it goes. I guess it's green. Right through the middle.
With that extra horsepower, you can tell Hamilton had to get woed up just a little bit harder than what Maloney did. And Maloney just, he couldn't get it woed up himself without enough time to avoid the contact there.
Right on board with Justin right now. He can see the problems in front of him. Where are you going to go? Right through the middle. That's in football. That would be a off-center plunge right there. He breaks it for a touchdown, huh?
Definitely a gap for that running back to get through.
That was it. Okay, let's go ahead. The top 5 have pretty much stayed the same. Let's run down the 6 now again, because that's shaken up there a little bit with some of those guys dropping out. So now Mark Rayner running in 5th position. Justin Strickland, we saw in that McLaren, up to 6th. Martin Slavossi having a great run. Started 12th, up 3 spots. Salty Morton into 10th. Let's run back a little bit more. Shane Smith in a battle with Phil Gadd for 11th. As we work about 6.5 minutes, we're well past halfway right now. Gary Hamilton didn't come out so bad there. He's still in 8th position. That's not so horrible for him, considering he was turned around.
No, I guess it was kind of fortunate. I mean, at least as fortunate as you can be in that type of situation, and it'll work out for him given the format here today. But by the time the contact happened, this field was already spread out at least a little bit, so they had enough time to try to get their cars back pointed straight before they lost too many spots.
Let's go to 13th and 14th right now. It's Needle Natal. Just got past, just got around him as Warren Pickering, but I don't think Natal's given up the ghost yet as he fights back. I guess it's going to work out for him. A pair of Mercedes working there.
Other than that, not too many battles on track right now. This is that point where we were talking about a few minutes ago. Everybody's trying to find their rhythm. I mean, they'll take advantage of any opportunities that gets presented to them, but we're back into that. Let's just drive the track and get through this phase.
Everybody's still out there racing with the exception of Zachary Hanlon. We saw have that early problem on lap 1. Mark Simon has called it a heat, not called it a day though. He'll be back. And Jackson Freer, 4 laps down, has also called it. Everybody out there, including Nathan Waddell, running in 20th, still on the lead lap. The director's contract calls us to put the camera on the leader every so often, even though he's ahead by 5.6 seconds. There's Richard Hampstead. Richard, if you want more screen time, you got to slow down, buddy.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's just happy exactly where he's at.
So I guess Hampstead is trying to go wire to wire to wire to wire to wire to wire today. If he can hold the lead for all these heats. So many formats in this series. They have the super sprint, they have the sprint, they have the, I think, a nighttime sprint where they do one in the daytime, one at night, then the 2-hour enduros, and then the 60-minute races. Keeps it fresh.
It does, and meanwhile, we were talking about things kind of spreading out a little bit. Rayner doing his best to try to gain a little bit of time on Michael Healy here. Last time around, their lap times were nearly identical, but I think that if Rayner has just a little bit longer, he might try to make a move on Michael to get that spot and move up an extra spot on the grid for heat number 2.
And sometimes these drivers do a little sandbagging. Some of them actually maybe won't play into much of effect here, but sometimes it's better to be in an odd finishing order than an even one. If you finish 4th, you're on the outside. Some guys like to start prefer to start on the inside of row 3 than the outside of row 2, so they kind of play around with that a little bit.
And why not? I mean, it's a perfect format to be able to do exactly that. And in turn 1 here, you know, is no joke for these cars. I mean, we already saw quite a bit of action in the first corner. So anything you can do to put yourself into a better position on the track, you know, so that very well is probably going on at this point in time.
Let's jump back, if you can, to, as we look right there at Justin Strickland. Let's get off of that McLaren for a minute. Back to 15th position. JT Brown being challenged right now. In fact, there's a slow car up ahead. That's Phil Gadd that they're going to get around. Phil must have had a slowdown penalty or something. So getting around here, JT Brown, and then also ducking in is, oh, look who it is. It's John Piesnick in that McLaren. Piesnick trying to make the outside work through the Alabama roller coaster. Almost gets a little help from Phil Gadd from behind. Watching the whole thing back there with a large box of popcorn is Aaron Farmer in 17th.
Yeah, Phil Gadd had he got off track just a little bit coming out of the last corner, and he had to get it slowed up in order to keep the car from going completely bonkers on him, and so that's what caused him to lose all those spots. And now he's going to be hungry to try to get him back.
Yeah, nice battle going on there, and let's give it, boy, a tip of the hat to Piesnick, who got through all those guys. We're looking at Jellings at 18th, Farmer at 17th, Brown, and leading the train is Phil Gadd. Gadd gets a little bit wide, and that's going to give that position to JT Brown. Boy, a lot of action going on. And there goes, it's TJ Brown. Gadd is going, Gadd took a little shortcut through the alfalfa. Not only did he cut the course, he's probably going to get a slowdown penalty for that. And my director said, I said it was JT Brown, so there's another candle at St. Cyprian's. It's TJ Brown. We have a spin. Pickering has lost it. It was all by himself. That looks like turn 1. Running in 16th. Looped it around. Didn't hit anything. Going to lose a position to all those guys. It looked like
grab that curb. Grab that curb just the wrong way under braking.
Yeah, he falls back to 16. He's going to lose positions to Farmer, to TJ Brown. I got that one right that time. Oh my goodness, Adam, the white flag's out. 15 minutes going by so fast. Let's go ahead as our leader crosses the start-finish line right now. This is a short lap. I don't think we'll have a battle. Let's give him a full lap around here as he works his way through 1, then into the Alabama roller coaster. Mark Simon getting out of the way as he is 8 laps down, just coming out to see the view. Heads down through these little right-hander down what we're going to call the back straight. Gets into Charlotte's Web. He's going to bring it home. Remember, this guy is working on a 4-race win streak. He didn't win the first event of the season. Then in round 2, 3, 4, and 5, he got wins in all of those. Now he works his way through Museum Corner. It's really like 3 corners in 1. Just a few more to go for Green Eggs. Through the little chicane. Got a little left and right-hander to go. Then he comes around for these final corners. Depends on how you count them, whether there's 15 or 16. What I can tell him right now is there's only 1 corner left. And the winner of the morning heat, no surprise, Richard, Green Eggs, and Hampstead. Let's see if we can follow some of these other guys across. Maybe a little battle here, Adam, for second. Fiegel and Tamlin?
I think he's got him on here, but we got to get back to 7th place right now. 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th all coming across the line here together. They might have had something going, but looks like they're all going to come across the line behaving.
No.
Jake Maloney's going to give the position back to Gary. I think that's kind of sorry about that earlier. Here you go.
Hey, I'm glad we got that good sportsmanship, the demonstration of good sportsmanship there on camera as Maloney gives the spot back to Hamilton. That's a little, even though Hamilton was running up in 5th, that takes a little bit of the sting out of the wound. And everybody has finished. So now what we're going to do, instead of go to break, what we're going to do is run down the entire order, and then we'll go to break. Top 10 here, Richard Hampstead, Simon Fiegel in second. Third and fourth go to Scott Tamlin and Michael Healy. The next two spots go to Mark Rayner and Justin Strickland. Then we saw Gary Hamilton in seventh. Jake Maloney gave him that spot in eighth. Ninth and 10th, Adam, go to Mark Slavasi and Jeremiah Salty Morton.
In 11th goes to new father Clint Shane Smith, Joe Piesnick coming home in 12th, Nino Natalie coming home in 13th position. 14th goes to TJ Brown. 15th with that late spin goes to Warren Pickering. 16th, Aaron Farmer. 17th, David Jellings. 18th, Phil God. And 19th, Jared Tyerman. And 20th, Nathan Waddell.
And Jackson Freer found himself locked down in 8th, laps behind in 21st position. Mark Simon simply in 22nd. And Zachary Hanlon rounds out the field. He started in 3rd. He finishes in 23rd. All right, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break while the series organizers regrid the field. We'll be back really quickly to show you the afternoon heat here on the Global Sim Racing channel. And you're watching the iRacing Driver Association GT3 Series. Back in just a few. Phil Soupzon and Adam Young, along with Amjad Yaman, that's the director in the booth. You're watching the Global Sim Racing Channel, and we are watching right now the iRacing Driver Association's GT3 series. This is round 6, and what we're going to watch right now is the afternoon heat. We just got done with the 15-minute morning heat. Time has passed quickly. The sun has moved now to the top of the sky. And we're looking at a little different weather this time, Adam, than we saw in the first one.
Yeah, we mentioned that was going to be one thing to follow, and you know, the first race temperature was about 72 degrees. Well, now as we move into the afternoon session, you know, a little fall cool front or something moved through in this virtual world, and a few clouds now. So now we're sitting with mostly cloudy skies where we were clear before, and temperature 67 degrees. So track should be just a little bit grippier, but going into turn 1 is going to be a little bit more interesting because of the slightly cooler tires.
I think the drivers would say they caught a break there, because in the hot afternoon sun in Alabama, it could have been ugly. And they only have just this little warm-up session. It's only 10 minutes to figure out what they want to do. Now, it's open setup, so they can play around with a little bit, but 10 minutes sure isn't much time to do much tweaking. Now, there's a couple drivers that Adam and I were kind of looking forward to keeping an eye on this time. What's interesting now is this session is not going to be set up by qualifying time, so we're not necessarily going to see the fastest drivers up there. We're going to see the drivers that's going to be grid depending on the finishing order from the first morning heat. So we know that Zachary Hamlin qualified third. He had that early first lap trouble. He's going to be way back there. We're going to have our director keep an eye on him. And also, then we have to look out for John Piesnick. Adam?
Yeah, and of course, I mean, we're expecting for Richard Hampstead to just kind of dominate like what he was earlier on, if he can get out clean on the first lap, and that's going to be the big question. I'm going to be keeping my eye also on the battle between Gary Hamlin and also Jake Maloney. We saw in the first heat that they were pretty well evenly matched once everything started to even out, and I know they had that little bit of contact there, and I do think, though, that they're going to stay close to each other in this race, too, and it'll be an awfully fun pair to watch.
Well, Maloney looked like, even though he had a good pace, he looked like he was really struggling with that car. And we talked about maybe it picked up a little damage, maybe it came hard to drive. It'll be interesting to see him if he's able to have an easier time of it this time. Remember, these guys, the repairmen have been to work, the mechanics have been to work. All these cars are brand new, spanking for this next heat. None of the damage carries over. None of the incident points carry over as well. So they start fresh on that. Remember, they want to stay under 15. Otherwise, they lose 10 points in the, not 10 incident points, but they lose 10 points in the point standings.
One thing to note also as we're looking at these guys practicing right now is the times that are coming in. We mentioned the weather a minute ago. The times are already coming in a good bit lower. We're seeing a couple of 119s set with Zachary Hamlin leading the session right now to 119.7. And something else, with that little cool front that I was talking about moving through in this virtual world, I guess it wiped all the rubber off the track because the track state is starting at 0 here today too. So no rubber on the track to help give them a little extra grip.
Well, you know, there's always a lot of things to make sure that you click right when you launch one of these sessions. That, honestly, I don't believe was the way it was supposed to be. So I think it was supposed to start at 0 and go to 10 or go to 50 and then wrap up at 80 for the final race. But let's assume, because it's cooler, like you said, a little virtual rainstorm came in and cleaned up the track, made it green again.
That's right. Don't mess with the storyline, Bill.
Well, I got good news for Zachary Hamlin. You are second fastest right now in practice with a 119.7, but I got the bad news for you. So you're going to start considerably farther back. I think it's going to be around 18th or 19th. Actually, I think you were farther back than that. I think you're going to start in the 20s. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. He has 15 minutes to get through before he gets to the 20-minute late afternoon main event.
And of course, with this course being as tight as it is, as short as it is well filled with corners, considering how long it takes you to get around here as it is, there's not a lot of passing opportunities. So there's going to be times where Zachary Hamlin, if he wants to move through the field, he might have to, not intentionally, but stick his nose in places where he otherwise might not usually would, and move some people out of the way. He's going to have to be aggressive if he's going to want to get back up to the front.
We like to say he may want to encourage some of the drivers to take an outside lane.
There you go.
lane.
I like that. Encourage.
Maybe a subtle suggestion to them. All right, we have about, oh boy, in fact, as I watch now, Jackson Freer just puts it in the wall on the main straight. It looks
Martin
like
Silvasky, actually.
Well, yeah, maybe a couple. It looks like qualifying is just about done. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I'm so used to before the race to be qualifying. It is practice only. And I think that Adam was actually right. I remember from last time I have to reset all of my timing and scoring, otherwise it gives me crazy names. I apologize to Jackson Freer, who probably did not crash. It was Silvassi for sure.
I'm just wondering what you're talking about as far as crazy names.
No. All right, we are good. Let's call out the grid here. This will be basically the finishing order from last time. On the row 1, Adam, is Richard Hampstead and Simon Fiegel.
Row 2, Scott Tamlin, Michael Healy starting on the outside of row 2 and 4th.
Mark Rayner and Justin Strickland, who we saw shoot the gap in his McLaren in 6th.
Gary Hamilton and Martin Savassi in 7th and 8th, excuse me.
And the 5th row, Salty Morton and Clint Shane Smith.
In row 6, 11th, Joe Peisnick and Nino Natalie starting in 12th.
TJ Brown and Warren Pickering make up the next row.
Aaron Farmer and David Jellings starting in row 8.
Phil Gadd and Jared Tyerman, 17th and 18th.
Nathan Waddell and Jackson Freer in 19th and 20th, starting in row 10.
And the final 2 spots go to Mark Simon and one of our fastest practicers, Zachary Hanlon. He's going to have his work cut out for him. And the pace car has started to roll as they work their way around this beautiful old school. It has such an old school feel to it. I love it. Not a lot of paved runoff areas. Boy, what's really strange about this track is there's no grandstands on the main straight. I've never been here to watch a race. I don't know where you actually sit to watch stuff.
The backstretch usually has like the main seating areas, but other than that, it's just a lot of grass embankments and stuff like that where you can sit and watch races.
That sounds like I may put that on my bucket list of somewhere to go. All right, the beautiful gold pace car out in front, sparkling in the Alabama sun, takes them through Museum Corner as they work the back half of the track. Up in front, one more time, it's a familiar spot for him. Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead. Now next to him, though, this time, Simon Fiegel. Let's go ahead and make sure I have everything updated, so not only do I call out the names right, I'm also going to be able to call out the colors of the car. Well, I'll call out the colors of the car to the best that my rods and cones will allow me to, but at least I will be looking at the right colors. I may not see them the way everyone else does, but at least it'll give me a fighting chance. All right, the pace car making its way around the back half of the track, going through these final corners and just about ready to pull off. Somebody with a little experience. He's did this just about 20 minutes ago. Richard Hampstead having a little deja vu, takes him around the final corner. He's going to hold him up, laying back a little bit, trying to be sneaky back there. Is the guy on the outside, Fiegel, but Hampstead has no use for that. But like we talked about, look at the inside lane work and diving to the inside.
A lot of bumping and moving in the back, and we got a yellow car back there. Trying to figure out who that is that just went around. Phil Gadd is the one that just got turned around, and he is just now getting her pointed back straight. They go into the first corner, and they try to take it almost 3 to 4 wide. And of course, whenever that happens, there's going to be somebody that's going to be left out in the dust. See Phil Gadd, and there was another car right up in front of him as well.
Let's drop into 4th position right now with Fiegel. He's being challenged by Healy, and while we were watching that replay, Tamlin was in a battle with Fiegel, and he got the best of it. Tamlin now, my timing and scoring should show him in 2nd. Am I correct on that? Yeah.
Oh, hey, just an update on that turn 1 incident, a story point that we've been talking about. It was that yellow car that got turned around there. It was excuse me. Hold on one second, but I know Zachary Hamlin was involved, and that's going to be something that's going to be a problem.
Battle up front, and it looks like Fiegel now in the preferred position. Hamlin with a little more momentum on the outside in that Audi as they go into this left-hander for one. Hamlin tries to get a little room. Fiegel says, hey, come on, I need all this space. And now Fiegel fights back. Hamlin loses position, drops into fourth. He's got Healy on the outside of him. Sorry, Tamlin now in third. That was quite a little shoving match between Fiegel and Tamlin down the straight and through corner one. Oh, and now a little help. Boy, it is getting really aggressive down here. As we talked about Healy encouraging Tamlin to get out of the way, I think Healy's going to give him the spot back and a show of good sportsmanship as Healy got into the back of Tamlin. Boy, it is something else going on behind there. Rayner a little bit loose. Hamlin in there. Oh, there's Strickland in that yellow McLaren. Slavasi in 8th, Morden in 9th. My goodness, there's some fighting going on. Nothing going on up front, though, as Hampstead is pulled away.
And as long as they keep battling back there, the more that Hampstead's going to pull away. Just an update I was talking about a minute ago. My timing and scoring was messing up, so I didn't see the name, but it was David Jellings that Zachary Hanlon got into, and Zachary Hanlon has significant front-end damage from that turn one incident, so that might impede his progress coming up through the field a little bit.
Let's go back to Zachary Hanlon right now.
Oh,
my
more
goodness,
contact.
Just in time for him to turn around Nino Natal. Hanlon's got people to see and places to go, and Natal was not one of them. Remember, he's a very fast driver that had a horrible first heat. He was making his way up. Then he tries to go to the inside. I don't know if Natal expected that to happen. That's kind of a case of you got to know not only where you are, but who's behind you. Hanlon now has made his way around Pickering. Maybe we stay on this a little bit more. He's got Jackson Freer in front of him. That's for 14th position.
More at contact up front. Looks like we have McLaren off.
Strickland just got into the back of... Oh, Strickland got tagged is what it was, by that blue and white car of Slavasi.
Oh, Slavasi just lost it going into that mini corkscrew and just could not.
He was a bullet on the grass. No way to
yeah, Strickland was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, a victim of circumstance there.
So Strickland in that McLaren drops down to 15th position. Slavasi goes to 17th. Now we're going to look at this battle for P7. Oh, here we go. Let's go back. We'll look at it right now. This is Piesnik in 7th position. Just got around Salty Morden there in 8th. Piesnik doing a good job of making up for that first heat problems that he had. Right now he's looking to start, where would 7 be? Inside of row 4. That's not so bad. And still 10 minutes to go. He's got 2.6 seconds to get up to Hamlin. And my apologies, it's Hamilton. We have Richard Hampstead. We had Gary Hamilton. And then we have Zachary Hanlon. Somebody's getting an extra $5 candle at St. Cyprian's. Let's run down the top 10 because I think things have settled down a little bit. Richard, Green Eggs, and Hampstead. Maybe I'll just call them by their nicknames. It'll be easier for me. Running out in front. Simon Fiegel running in second, being closely chased by Scott Tamlin. Then it's a little farther back to Healy. It's in a nice battle with Mark Rayner and Gary Spiral Sliced Hamilton. Then we go back to Piesnik, who we talked about moving up to 7th position. 8th, Salty Morden. Hey, new daddy Clint Smith up to 9th position, and a battle behind him. Moving up into 10th, that's Zachary Hanlon has got into the top 10, coming all the way from the back. Just got around TJ Brown.
And Hanlon's driving like he wants to get up there, and he wants to be up there yesterday. He does not want to hang around in the middle part of this pack right now. So he's driving the wheels off the thing, missing half his front end.
Yeah, what what Hanlon will find out as he continues to work his way through the field is that the steepness gets what would that be? The elevation gets a little steeper as you start getting up into those faster guys. Let's see what he can do with Clint Smith here. Just a quick story on Clint Smith. His partner and him just had a baby. A nice, beautiful little girl that apparently his better half, his lovely lady, went into contractions right at the end of last race, right when she was kind enough to not tell him until he finished his race. So that's a woman who knows her priorities. But right now, Smith is being challenged by Hanlon.
I think Smith might give him the position here going into one. He knows discretion's the better part of valor here.
Yeah, maybe being a new father, he's lost his nerve a little bit there. Didn't want to come into any harm's way with a baby to take care of. So Hanlon up to 9th as we watch on the replay.
Meanwhile, 4th on back is starting to tighten up just a little bit more here.
And these spots will have value now because you're getting close with only 7 minutes to go. We've reached the halfway mark. You're looking at that 20-minute main event coming up. Healy out in front, Rayner behind him, and then that beautiful Ford of Gary Spiral Sliced Hamilton behind them. So there's a nice battle for 4th. Everybody doing a little bit better job of behaving themselves this time. And look who is caught up. The guy we got to watch. Look at 7th position. Remember, he was back there. That McLaren of John Piesnik has now got in the hunt, and he's looking to see if he can do a move on Hamilton. Look at the McLaren there as we watch. We ride on board with Piesnik as he takes a kind of, not actually diamonding, kind of diamonding, I guess, the two entries and exits there, trying to find a way around, trying to get it to work where they aren't.
And a few seconds behind these guys, Jeremiah Morton is getting ready to lose his position to Zachary Hanlon.
Yeah, look at that.
He's going to pick up another one.
Hanlon up to 8th. Morton trying to fight back on the outside as they go into museum, but that's not going to work. He's just being a little bit pesky there. Morton back to 9th now. Shane Smith in 10th. Hanlon all the way up from 22nd position into 8th. That's certainly within striking position to get what I'm going to call best in class, because I don't think anybody's touching green eggs today, but certainly a 2nd place is within his reach. Oh, and as we talked, as we watch this, look at this. John Piesnik has got around Spiral Sliced Hamilton. So Gary Hamilton drops back to 7th. That McLaren of Piesnik now on the hunt. Next up for him, Mark Rayner.
Oh, for a second I thought he was going to try to go around the outside, but I think he just kind of blew the breaking point just a touch into that corner, but he didn't lose too much time, thankfully. He might still be able to get him as we go down the backstretch.
And there's the pass made. Piesnik gets around Rayner. Through Charlotte's Web, and now they head down into, and look at Piesnik pull away as they go through Museum Corner. My goodness, there's a chance here with 4 minutes left. Let's give you an interval. It's 2.4 seconds from Rayner. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me give you a better interval. I guess where we're looking at here. Here we go. Healy. It's 9/10 of a second from Healy to Piesnik. I know you've never seen Piesnik's paint job. This is not his usual. He usually has a multi-colored Elements skateboard paint job, not the beauty multicolored that he usually runs.
I'll have to check that out sometime. But I'm a fan of the blue, or the blue, black, and white thing he's got going on today.
Still has Elements on there. Dynamic, it shows on there in the 555 car. 555, usually the first 3 numbers of when I meet a girl, when they give me her telephone number, they usually started with those digits.
It was the bad jokes, wasn't it?
Yeah. I kept meeting women that couldn't pay their phone bills. It was very annoying. Anyway, Healy running in fourth and Peacenik closing in on him now under a half second. Going to be quite a while for Hanlon. He's still got 4.6 seconds to get up to Hamilton, so I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think Peacenik's got a real chance to break into the fourth position.
Warren Pickering just got around T.J. Brown for 11th.
Looking for some other hard chargers. Jackson Freer up from 20th into 15th. Maybe we can take a quick look at him right now as he's being challenged by, well, there's Justin Strickland. We saw what happened to that McLaren. Strickland trying to get around Freer there with 2 minutes, just over 2.5 minutes to go. Boy, it's hard to pass here. You almost have to wait for the guy to make a mistake. As I say that, Strickland does a little bit, takes it out into the fescue. He's going to lose a lot of time. Now we look at Peacenik. Here he is, side by side. He's going to get this done on Healy. Through Charlotte's Web, Peacenik up to fourth, Healy back to fifth. Watching the whole thing, Rayner and Hamilton. Going to be too far for Peacenik to get up to Tamlin running in third. Fiegel comfortably in second, and one more time. They have to follow the union rules. Richard Hampstead out in front by 5.6 seconds. 5.6 seconds in 14 or 13 and a half minutes. My goodness.
I've been keeping my eyes still on Zachary Handling trying to come up through the field. You know, as long as those guys there in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, as long as they keep fighting, it's going to slow them down even just a touch. And that's allowing Zachary to catch them a little bit. He might be able to catch the back part of that group there right before we end this heat. So he might still be able to grab one more spot and improve his position a little bit, and that would put him on the inside row if he's able to get one more spot going into that third and final heat today.
The driver's really... Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, you can't tell me that's not going to be on his mind, is to try to get that preferred line going into turn one.
The driver's really settled down for this afternoon heat. Our director wasn't quite as busy doing replays. They managed to keep those cars on the track. As we work under a minute now, Hampstead not getting the white flag yet, so I imagine he'll get it. I'm certainly he'll get it this time by... I'm assuming he hasn't seen the white flag yet. No.
Hanlon just spun. Going through that hairpin, the back end just kind of steps out for him.
But he does a real good job. He got the back tires on the grass. Real good job of getting that thing turned around straight. He's going to be ahead. He didn't lose a position. I think that gives up any opportunity of him catching the Ford of Hamilton. But he's still ahead of Morton, Smith, and Pickering running in 9th, 10th, and 11th. And meanwhile, while we say that, Green Eggs takes the white flag. This time, we're not going to follow you around. We'll pick you up on the last corner or two there, Hampstead. We'll see if we can find a battle here to look at. As we look for something, there must be something close we can find. We're going to 5th position. There's Healy again. Healy with Rayner behind him and Gary Hamilton in that Ford. Boy, look at that. There's 3 different makes of car. You have the Audi out in front, then the Mercedes, and then the Ford behind him. Not sure if anything's going to happen there. Our leader working his way through Museum Corner. He's still got a ways to go. We'll stay up on 5th place. Honestly, Adam, I think those guys look like they're just racing in formation right now. Just going to try to bring it home.
Yeah, unless somebody makes a big mistake here, I think that's probably going to be how they're going to finish.
Okay, let's put our cameras, get that Dougie Beard camera set up to our leader, Richard Hampstead, as he works around the final corner, goes past pit entrance, which is not going to be in use today, around that final corner, and here's something I've said before. Your winner, Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead. Second place, Fiegel. Tamlin in third. A great run from Peacenik from 11th to 4th. Healy, Rayner, and Hamilton go 5, 6, and 7. Hanlon, after that little spin at the end, going to come home in 8th, certainly within striking distance when they race for real. Salty Morton in 9th. Papa Shane Smith in 10th. Warren Pickering in 11th. TJ Brown in 12th. I'm going to say them all here. Farmer, Freer, Strickland, Waddell, and Zilvasi. Tireman, Simon, and Gadd, and your final car on the lead lap will stay with him. He got a little help earlier going around. Brings it home on the lead lap in 21st position, Nino Natal. Then, the drivers who did not finish the race, 12 laps down, David Gelling. And Adam, since I just went through the entire field, I took half of your job there. I think what we'll do right now is simply go to break. Now remember, these were the 2 heat races. They were just to get things sorted out. Now we race for real. 20 minutes, race for real. 20 minutes for the points. We'll be back in just a few. You're watching the Global Sim Racing Show. This is the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the iRacing Driver Association GT3 Series, the main event here from Barber Park. Under our belt, we've already had two 15-minute heat races, and now the boys are racing for all the chips, for the points. The grid has been set based on our last heat, and it's late afternoon. Bill Soup's on and Adam Young here to bring you all the action with Amjad Yaman behind the console, turning the knobs and pushing the sliders. Well, Adam, I think we got a feel for what we're looking at here. I think we're looking for it's really a race for class here, as we expect Hampstead to go wire to wire to wire to wire today, don't we?
Absolutely. I think the thing to be to watch out for is Zachary Hanlon after finishing that last heat there in 8th position. Is he going to be able to gain more spots after his problems that he had in the first heat? So it'll be interesting to see what kind of moves he can make in turn 1 and then throughout the 20-minute race. Now, the first 2 heats are 15 minutes. This one's going to be 20 minutes. And for the weather on this one, you know, that cool front moved through earlier. Now the track's a little bit warmer. We're up to 74 degrees with the track temperature 85 and the sunny skies. Now, granted, we're in the late afternoon, so you know, we're not seeing things too slick out there. So all in all, these guys are not going to have to adjust their cars too much from between the 3 heats. And I think that we'll be seeing some things pretty consistent with what we were seeing here earlier on this morning.
And of course, the fans have been here all day, so those beautiful two-dimensional Alabama women that have come to watch this race have started to cover up to protect their skin from the sunburn. So that's too bad for us, but we're expecting to have a wonderful race here right now as I continue to think about more things to fill with, as we've had a lot of time to fill today. Let's look at our best practice time right now. Simon Fiegel out there with a 1:20.1. Times are a little slower, well, from what I'm first looking at than from what we saw earlier in the day.
Yeah, I think some of these guys are just getting in here and getting their outlet set down, so the tires are still a little cool on some of those 121s that we're seeing. But I fully expect Hampstead to lead the practice chart just like how he's led the race.
Let's give a tip of the hat here to a couple drivers that had some nice runs that last race. Joe Piesnik did a good job making up for his early trouble that he had in the first heat, was able to bring that car back. He's going to be starting near the front, and then as Adam talked about, Hanlon did a great job getting up there. Had a little bit of a spin there at the end, but it didn't cost him too much, so he'll be starting, I think we saw him on the outside of 4, somewhere around row 4, close enough for him to do some damage quickly.
Yeah, and I think turn 1's going to be real interesting because that's going to be his best opportunity to get, you know, several spots at once. But at the same time, he's got to be careful not to get caught up in an incident. Every single race so far that we've had an incident in turn 1. Now, granted, that's going to be a little bit. You know, those incidents have been kind of more toward the middle to back of the pack, but we did at the start of very first heat this morning had that one incident with our second and third place cars, and that's how Zachary Hanlon ended up in the back in the first place. So he just needs to make sure lightning doesn't strike twice on him here.
If you've been paying attention, you can see the long afternoon shadows now cast by the Alabama sun that begins to lower itself closer to the horizon. My wife's favorite time of day when she's a photographer. She likes this time of day. You can see those long shadows out there. This is a great track. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Motegi, that goes one way then comes back and then goes back the other way. This, for being as long as this track is, it's really confined in a close area as far as acreage.
It is, you know, so it kind of makes you wonder as far as, say they, you know, completely hypothetical, they spread out the track more and went into the little bit more of the countryside. Like, what other kind of interesting terrain features would have been out there? Of course, this is an all-natural terrain road course, so we do have elevation changes, we do have tight corners and everything else. It's a pretty interesting track. I really do like Barber.
All right, boys and girls, the practice session is done. They're going to go to the grid right now, and we can call that out in just a second as soon as they grid up, waiting for my time and scoring to catch up. And there we go. All right, well, if you haven't figured it out already, you haven't been paying attention. On the pole, Richard, Green Eggs, and Hampstead. Right behind him, or right outside of him, Simon Fiegel in row 1. Adam?
Row 2, Scott Tamlin, Joe Piesnik starting on the outside of row 2.
A very quiet couple of heats for Michael Healy, sitting in 5th position, Mark Rayner outside of him.
Yeah, sometimes being quiet's not always a bad thing. Inside of row 4, Gary Hamilton, and on the outside of row 4, one of the guys we're keeping an eye on, Zachary Hanlon.
And it looks like, if I'm still here, Jeremiah Morton and Clint Smith.
Starting in 11th, we have Warren Pickering, and starting 12th, TJ Brown.
Outside of him, Aaron Farmer and Jackson Freer.
Inside of row 8, Justin Strickland. Outside of row 8, Nathan Waddell.
Martin Stilvasi and Jared Tyerman in 17th and 18th.
In row 10, we've got Mark Simon and then Phil Gadd.
Then rounding out the final 2 drivers there is Nino Natal and David Jellings. And you can see the drivers out there. I've lost my iRacing feed, but I can probably get that back, and I can watch over here. We have many ways to call this, but I'm not going to be able to be quite as informative as I usually would be as we see the pace car making its way. Looks like they're now going, is this going through Museum right here, if I can recognize this?
You would be correct.
And I have such confidence here in iRacing is going to let me back in here in no time. 20 minutes they got to go. This is for the points. Hampstead in front. Next to Hampstead is, if I can look up there and see who it is, well, timing and scoring won't tell me.
You got Simon Fiegel. He's going to be pretty hungry here on the start. I mean, if you're going to catch Richard, this is going to be when you're going to have to do it. I mean, he's just been dominant today. You're really only going to be inside of him for the first couple of corners. And not only do I think that you have to be able to get around him in these first couple of corners, you're going to have to hope something happens to him, which of course we don't. But that's going to be the one way, probably the only way he's going to get beat.
Pace car pulls in. Hampstead in that prize position that he knows so well now. Look at that long camera shot from
Oh, you got to try to make it 3 wide here.
My goodness, look at that.
Scott Tamlin with a very aggressive move on the start, gets around Richard. Richard gives him a little tap, lets him know, hey, buddy. And then they're going to go into the turn 3 and 4, and then Scott Tamlin still out in front. You're going to have to see how long this is going to last. This is exactly what I was talking about. The best time to get around Richard was going to be right there at the start.
So, I have everything back now. Tamlin, starting from the 3rd position, was able to make that move from the inside of row 2, has now moved up. He is your leader. For the first time today, Richard, and we have a spin behind. It looks like that's John Piesnik in the McLaren.
Yeah, Simon Fiegel got to the inside after having that rough start, trying to gain up spots, gets into Gary Hamilton, and then they both have to take a little bit of a shortcut there. And then that's just unfortunate contact here this early in the heat.
All that work from Piesnik, and now the car doesn't seem to be behaving very well as he's fallen back to 8th position, and there they go around him. I think Piesnik is going to have to maybe pull that car over. Doesn't look like he has much pace now. Meanwhile, up in front, your leader, for the first time today, as I was going to mention before, we had that excitement there from Peacenik. Scott Tamlin out in front, and Richard Green Eggs and Hampstead has somebody to look at in front of him.
Very unusual spot for Richard Tamlin here to Hampstead here today. Scott Tamlin driving the wheels off that thing to try to stay in front of Richard. Richard's kind of let him know he was still there a couple of times. So you're gonna have to wonder right now, is Richard just gonna lay back a little bit, let things get spread out a little bit more before he makes his move, or is he gonna be aggressive and try to get back around him quickly?
Well, if there was a track that I would want to be able to defend on, this would be one of them. Maybe Lime Rock is another one that comes to mind that's hard to get around. But boy, let's see what kind of defensive lines, if any, that Scott Tamlin decides to take. Both drivers, oh no, that's an Audi up there. I'm sorry, it's an Audi being chased by the Mercedes. And Michael Healy back in third position right now. Look at Hampstead right up behind Tamlin. You got 17 minutes, Richard, but I don't think Rich is going to take more than he needs.
The more time you hang back there, the more time that you're putting at risk of something happening, whether it be that, maybe Scott Tamlin makes a mistake and Richard gets into him or something along them lines. So Richard is going to want to try to get around him probably as quick as he can, but at the same time, this is a slightly longer heat than what we've been having. And it's try to make a move.
And he does
gets into him.
Thanks to a little bit of I'm going to call that one. There's always two sides to the story, but when you look up dive bomb in the dictionary, that's what you're going to see. Now remember, they pay us to give our opinions on this one, so I've done enough IRT work to know that, boy, when you look at things closer, you can always get a different point of view on it.
Tamlin having a little bit more trouble out there as he got himself pointed back straight. Just things went from great to not so great for Scott Tamlin in a hurry.
Well, I think that says a lot about why Richard Hampstead is such a good driver. Not because he turns people, but he's really competitive. Clearly, he didn't need to make that move there, but he likes to be in one spot only, and that is out in front. Now, there are penalty points that can be distributed. Don't know if he's going to get one or not, or several. Never seems to ease the pain of the driver who gets turned. Well, let's go ahead and look at second position right now, because here comes the Ford making a move. Gary Hamilton, side by side, Cialis bathtubs with Michael Healy, and he gets that pass done. So now, it's Green Eggs and Spiral Slice running 1-2. Healy in third, Rayner in fourth, Fiegel in fifth. Zachary Hanlon, we should keep an eye on him. He's trying to make up for that Heat 1 problems that he had, up to sixth position. We'll see what he can do on Fiegel. Adam, top six drivers have really pulled away from the rest of the field.
Oh yeah, and that's these same six guys for the most part have been up front almost this entire time, with the exception of Hanlon. After his problems, and Hamilton puts some wheels off the track there and loses that second spot back to Michael Healy.
So again, Hamilton's going to have to try it one more time. He did it once. Let's see if he can do it again. That Ford is wiggly. That Ford is a handful right now for Spiral Slice. Fiegel in the back looking for a ways to go. Diving to the inside in the third car in line, Mark Rayner looking for someone, and it's nose to tail, 5 cars all the way back to Hanlon. Ahead of him, Fiegel, Rayner, Hamilton, and Healy, the engine of the train. Oh, and there's a little bit of accordion effect, and they got into each other. It looks like everybody's okay. Now they're side by side. Now looking to the inside, that's Fiegel. as Rayner trying to find a way around, trying to get up to fourth.
Yeah, he kind of got squeezed out there a little bit, but I think Rayner's going to fall into the clutches of Hanlon here as we go into the next set of corners.
And now working to the inside. There it goes. Hanlon's got him looking for the over-under as Rayner. That's not going to work. Hanlon moves up to fifth. And next on his hit list is Simon Fiegel.
And it seems like Hanlon for the last couple laps has been very content to ride behind his teammate and Simon Fiegel. It's you know, kind of calmed down for him a little bit. I mean, fifth place is definitely a lot better than where he was going into lap 3 in heat number 1. So he's just going to ride, I think. Scott Tamlin, the troubles continue.
Got into that green McLaren. Tamlin got dive bomb earlier. I think he said, all right, well, maybe that dive bomb works. As boy, it looks like he did the same kind of number on Strickland that he had happened to him.
Except this time the bump in there was not as without incident as both cars took some damage there.
Tamlin was trying to get around 2. He was trying to get around 3 or trying to get 2 for 1. He did get 1, but couldn't make up on that second one.
Yeah, some of that just very well could be a level of lack of patience and frustration on Tamlin's part after everything that's happened to him here in this heat. You know, things really went from being really great for him to really bad in a very short amount of time, and that's going to play with your mental state as you drive that car.
Poker players call that being on tilt, when you get a bad beat and then you end up losing hand after hand. It cost you a lot of money in this position, and this time it cost Tamlin a couple positions. Back up in front now. If we go up there again, let's move up to Healy. Still being challenged. A nice battle for second. This is where the action is. Healy in second, Hamilton in third, Fiegel in fourth, Hanlon in fifth, and getting back into the battle is Rayner. Oh, look at this. Now the pass. Hamilton gets the move on the inside as they go around Charlotte's Web, and it's going to get a great drop as they go into now the museum corner. Hamilton takes over second position. Some good braking, good Fiegel able to blow it up. Almost got into the back of Healy.
Yeah, if there wasn't contact there, they probably wouldn't have been able to stick a piece of paper between the two of them. But everybody gets out of there pretty much unscathed. I mean, a couple positions lost, one position lost by Healy there overall in the grand sequence of things. And Zachary Hanlon was actually looking on the inside of Simon there. As Simon gets a look on the inside of Healy, now into the outside as around the final corner and onto the front stretch. And Zachary Hanlon's going to try to stick his nose and follow his teammate right through.
Hanlon's saying, let's go, buddy. Not going to be able to do it. He's on the outside.
Wisely backed out there.
So Fiegel in third, Healy now into fourth. Hanlon, though, stalking him. Trying to go to the outside and through Charlotte's Web. That's not going to work. Let's see if he tries the over, and he might get a better exit out of the corner. Oh, gets a little bit loose, trying to get the power down. He's going to lose some momentum. Is he going to fall back into the clutches of Rayner? No, I don't think so.
Should note that TJ Brown has officially called it a day.
So in this battle up front, we're looking at a Ford ahead of a Mercedes with an Audi in there and then another Mercedes. So 3 different makes between second and fifth position. And then we'll throw in another Mercedes of Rayner as well. Right now, our top McLaren, it looks like, since Peacenik has had trouble, it looks like that's Justin Strickland running back in 15th position. Go ahead, Adam. Oh, no, Peacenik is up there, sorry, in 8th. In fact, let's go to Peacenik right now as he's making a move on Pickering. Nope. Peacenik trying to go for what? Peacenik trying to work on the outside. Now he tries to get a good drive off here. He'll get a good run, but there's really nowhere to go. Look at that McLaren with some nice Nice drive off. As they go into Charlotte's Web, he's going to get that job taken care of.
I've always liked those McLarens, especially the afterburner exhaust effect.
It really does make it go faster.
I just want to play Danger Zone in my head every time I see that.
Look at that Dougie Beard camera angle off the back of that McLaren. Okay, so Peacenik having an eventful day, back up to 7th. He might win the award for most cars passed today. He's like Sisyphus. He pushes the boulder all the way up, then it falls back down. He's got to start it all over again.
And of course, while we were watching that, Hanlon was finally able to get around Healy. And now the race is on for second with Simon up there racing Gary Hamilton.
Hamilton has already made the pass twice on Simon. See if Simon can do it. But here comes Zachary Hanlon. Boy, what a great run from him. Had to work from the very, very back of after heat race 1. That afternoon race he made up most of the time, and now he's right up running in 4th position right now, looking for a way to get around the Ford that's in front of him there, and then his teammate. That team, of course, very happy. They're very proud to bring Logitech on as a sponsor. Fiegel running in the 3rd position right now. His teammate Zachary Hanlon running in 4th.
In this super sprint format that we're running here today, they've only got about 6 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock to try to be able to make their moves, grab what points they can. So you know that they know that time is wearing thin. So expect to see a little bit more aggressiveness here next little bit. In fact, as we see that, Simon gets into Hamilton just a little bit there and trying to shove him through that corner.
I'm not sure if you could put 3 cars nose to tail any closer than they were in that final corner. Now they work down the main straight. Ford out in front, being stalked by those 2 teammates behind him. Adam, I think they're faster. Whoop. Peacenik is in the wall. On a self-spin, just a mistake all by himself.
Just grabs that grass just a little bit on the outside of corner entry and stuffs it into the Armco barrier there. That is a sad looking front end on that McLaren now.
I think he got ran over by the boulder that time. It has squished him. His efforts for today are done. The boulder wins.
That's too bad. He had a good run going. I mean, a couple minor things happened to him through the course of the day, but sad to see it end like that for him.
5 minutes to go here as there just a few seconds to cross that benchmark. 3/4 of the way through. Once again, let's put the camera on the leader here. Green Eggs Hampstead out in front by ho-hum 9.6 seconds. But he had to work a little bit. He had to actually go around, or maybe I used around leniently there through Hamlin. Hamilton in second still, holding off the battle from Fiegel and Hanlon. We'll see if we can pick up anything else farther back in the field, but to be honest with you, we're probably going to focus on that battle for second as they bring it home right now. Let's take a second look at 10th here. There's Salty Morton running in 10th, just behind Aaron Farmer, and look at that, Scott Tamlin trying to make up whatever he can there after his... Boy, he's had a couple incidents. He's running pretty well in 11th position for everything he's been through in this first 15 minutes. Pretty good job from him. And Farmer in that Mercedes, we have really not talked about him right in racing in that Caterpillar machine. That's a darn good top 10 finish for him. Very quiet performance.
It's always the quiet ones you have to watch out for.
Gary Hamilton still out in front. Fiegel and Hamlin, nothing happened there. at least for now, as we work our way close to 3 minutes to go. Look for any big... Go ahead, Adam.
It seems like Hanlon right now is kind of laying off just a little bit. Oh, there, they almost made contact between Fiegel and Hamilton. But I was going to say, it looks like Hanlon was kind of laying back just a little bit to give his teammate room. But now I think team orders are going out. I mean, they know the clock is ticking here. They're going to try to make some moves on each other, I think, now.
Yeah, Fiegel got a little bit loose, and then Hamlin actually didn't try to go around him, just kind of give him a little bump, almost like a bump draft. They're going to have to get that figured out here pretty soon, as all that little battling now has allowed Hamilton to get away. Real quickly, I want to give a shout out to the driver who's made a big climb here through the... Where'd he go? I thought it was going to be Stolvasi. There we go. Martin Stolvasi running in 8th position right now, up from 17th, has made up 9 spots so far, running all by himself. Always like to give a little screen time to those drivers who are able to work their way through the field. Let's go back to second place as we work now with almost 2 minutes to go. Adam, I enjoyed calling this race with you. Thanks for getting up at that unholy hour and coming in with me.
It's not a problem at all, Bill. It's been fun. Some great racing here today. You know, Barber always puts on a good show. I think it's probably one of the more underrated tracks out there, and it's fun.
And this is a good series too. These guys put on a good show. I hope everyone has enjoyed watching as we work now under 2 minutes. Richard Hampstead probably working on the penultimate lap. Hamilton in that Ford, able to hold off Fiegel and Hanlon. Boy, but they are working on him now as they go through museum.
Yeah, they're being quite a bit more aggressive here, especially Fiegel. I mean, if he gets his nose under Hamilton, I think that he's going to leave his nose there at this point.
Hamilton has had great performances before, but has never been able to put the final chapter in the book. As our leader crosses the start-finish line now with 1 minute 2 to go, I'm pretty confident this is going to be his white flag lap. So everyone's going to get one more shot at it. We will definitely cover Hampstead as he crosses the start-finish line, but right now, let's go ahead and stay on this battle for second. The Ford of Spiral Splice, Hamilton out in front. He misses that apex a little bit, or at least decided to make it a late apex. Now right behind him is Fiegel and Hanlon. They're looking for somewhere to go. Fiegel with a pretty good drive off of the Alabama roller coaster. Now Fiegel trying to get to the inside. He's blinking a little bit for me. Still trying to get around Hampstead still out in front. Hamilton now gets a great drive off. Now we got to watch out for his partner Hanlon trying to get around Fiegel. Hampstead has just a few corners to go. We'll stay on this battle right now. We don't need to go there yet. It looks like it's not going to change though. Hamilton out in front, Fiegel and Hanlon. Meanwhile, our leader working around the final 2 corners. We called it for the morning heat. We called his name at the end of the afternoon heat, and we're going to call it again at the end of this late afternoon heat and the main event. Your winner for all the points. That's 5 in a row, Richard Hampstead. Second place, the battle goes on, driving to the inside as Fiegel tries to make a move. Can't get it done. Now he has a bad exit out of the corner. Can Hanlon get there? I don't think so. It's going to be close. No, it's going to be Hamilton, Fiegel, Hanlon, Rayner, Healy.
Very, very exciting back there for second. That was a heck of a drive by all 3 of those guys.
Silvassi comes across in 7th, Salty Morton in 8th. Scott Tamlin makes up for his bad opening part of the race. Taken out from the lead, going to get in 9th position. Freer in 10th. Everybody crossing the finish line now. Smith, Strickland, Natal, Farmer, Pickering, Waddell, Gadd in the final car on the lead lap. Just coming across, Jared Tyerman. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us, and that's for right now. Make sure you come back for the post-race coverage. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to say goodbye to Adam Young. Thanks, Adam, for being with us. We'll be back on the Global Sim Racing channel. This is GSRC, or for those of you not fond of acronyms, the Global Sim Racing Channel. And you are watching our coverage of the iRacing Drivers Association Round 6 from Barber Motorsports Park, the Super Sprint format, where we found out on the last main event of 20 minutes, Richard Hampstead is going to go 5 in a row now with victories. Let me run down the entire order for you here. Your winner, Richard Hampstead. Behind him in his Ford, Gary Spiral Sliced Hamilton. Behind him, Simon Fiegel and Zachary Hanlon in 4th. Rounding out the top 5, Mark Rayner. 6th through 10th went to Michael Healy, Mark Slavasi, Jeremiah Salty Morden, Scott Tanlin, Jackson Freer. Then in the 11th spot, the new daddy, Clint Shane Smith, Justin Strickland in that McLaren. He was up, he was down, he was up, he was down. When it's all done, he finishes 1 dozen in the 1 dozen spot. In the Baker's dozen spot, hey, Nino Natal made a great run up to 13th. Aaron Farmer was able to harvest a 14th position. Warren Pickering in 15th. Nathan Waddell behind him. Phil Gadd was glad to come home in 17th on the lead lap, and then the last car on the lead lap, Jared Tyerman. Then the drivers who had some trouble, David Jellings, John Peacenik. Boy, he was up close. He went the back up close when it's all said and done, 20th position, 4 laps down. TJ Brown, and the last car rounding out in the double deuce position, Mark Simon. All right, we're going to be able to talk to some of these guys right now. Let's go ahead and talk to our 5-time winner and winner of today's event. That is going to be Richard Hampstead. He went wire to wire in the first heat. He went wire to wire in the second heat. But in the main event, Richard, you found yourself not out in front.
Yeah, it was pretty good couple of quali races for me, and quali went well too. Yeah, had a good run. And then in the last one, didn't get a great start. Put a pretty good move on through the first corners, and had to work trying to fight a way past, and had a bit of a look into the hairpin there, and unfortunately there's just been a little bit of contact and he went around, so it's a shame, but so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that, and but after that I just pressed on and brought it home.
Do you think running out in front as much as you do hurts your racecraft? I mean, I don't mean to, you know what I'm saying, because you're running hot laps for most of the time.
Not really. I think I haven't really had that much of a clear run in other races like Spa. I had a couple of good battles with Dylan Sharman and Josh Rogers, and at Donington had some great battles with Sam and Jared and Kane, and I don't really think so. I think it was mostly my fault, but I think he also could have left a bit of room there. So yeah.
Well, come on, race drivers. It's always the other guy's fault. That's there's nothing wrong with that. Now, we know you here with this series. Do you race in any official iRacing series?
Not really, apart from the Blancpain DWC, or is it a DWC? I don't know, but the Pro Series. That's the one I'm mainly focusing on in official. I also do the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series, the hosted league. So that's what sucks up most of my time.
Well, it's 5 in a row for you right now. Let's see if we can get 6 in a row when we come back in a couple weeks. Congratulations on the win today.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
There we go. And that was Green Eggs and Hampstead for you, your winner. Now, if we can talk to our second place driver real quick, we're going to try to bring in Gary Spiral Slice Hamilton in his Ford. Gary, nice race. You got that beautiful Ford up to second spot.
Yeah, g'day guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was that was quite a challenge. I'll tell you that much.
Boy, in that final, in the main event there, you got up to second, then you went back to third, you got up to second, and then you had to pass Simon about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I could see the car. I changed the pressures for that last race, and it seemed to it actually made it a little bit difficult to drive, but it was faster. So I had a little bit of pace there, and managed to get past, and then. Yeah, that car really struggles with understeer, especially power on understeer, and just as soon as I got the pass done, very keen to try and pull a gap, and just got a bit didn't really get the car set up right and on the power, and drove myself sort of straight off the track coming onto the straight. So undid all the work and then had to do it all again.
Did you change the tire pressure after practice, or did you just look at the weather or how the car was feeling earlier on and said, boy, I can use a little change?
Yeah, well, to be honest, the cars to me is a little bit of a mystery. So anything I've been trying hasn't really been helping. It probably doesn't suit the way I like to drive. So I find that I'm changing the way that I drive to suit the car, and basically I thought I had the set as good as I could. So for the races, I just experimented with tire pressures, regardless of what the hot pressures were. I tried a bit hotter in the first one, a bit cooler in the second one, and then even cooler in the last race, and it seemed to work.
Well, I speak for all the drivers in the States. We thank you for getting at least one American car out there for us to keep an eye on, so we really do appreciate that.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I should probably stop bagging it out.
All right, Gary, congratulations. Let's see if we can get something for Hampstead one of these times. Get him off that tall podium.
I'd love to do that. I'll keep working on it.
Gary Hamilton, your second place finisher today. Next up, we'll go with our final podium here, Simon Fiegel. Simon, you have a copy.
Yes, I do. How's it going?
Very good. You had a pretty good heat races. You kept it pretty clean, and I think you had your most competition. The hardest you had to work there was the final part of that main event.
Yeah, without a doubt. It was first heat. I think I was fourth on the grid, or fifth on the grid. Sorry. So I had a reasonably good start. There was obviously a tangle with Zach and then and John. So that luckily avoided them. And then once Maloney had made his mistake, I was able to kind of cruise. And then heat two was kind of similar, and it was a pretty tight tussle with me and Scott Tamlin in the first couple of laps. But after that, sort of settled into rhythm, and Richard was just way too quick the whole day, so I wasn't going to easily catch him. And then, the final race, the one that mattered, just was in the wrong place of the track for those first few corners, really. So dropped down to fifth, and then there was a bit of net code between myself and John. Entering that little tight, twisty area, and from there it's down in sixth. So to come back to finish third was good, but a bit frustrating because I was a lot quicker than Gary towards the end. Just he drove a error-free race and it was very tight lines, so just couldn't make a move.
Your partner didn't give you any break back there. Zachary Hanlon was all over you there at the end. Were you talking much between yourselves, or were you worried about him, or was it pretty much you felt pretty confident as a teammate he wasn't going to do much to you?
No, Zach. There's no team orders, so it's always tight, and we're pretty close races generally. So, but we're obviously we're on the same team. We're all try to keep it fair as well. So I knew that there was always the opportunity that he could do a move, but I think at the same time in the back of his mind, he kind of knew if I could get a move on Gary, then there was a good chance he could slot on right through, because we basically did that same sort of formation passing with earlier on with like Michael Healy and Mark Rayner. So we were sort of thinking, I think, the same lines, even though we weren't actually saying anything on TeamSpeak.
Well, congratulations on a podium finish today. Keep it up, and let's see if one of these times maybe we can get Hampstead off that tall step.
Absolutely. We'd love to see the Logitech Blue on the top step.
There you go. Simon Fiegel, your third place finisher today. One more interview here. We're going to talk to the new Papa, as we can bring him in here right now, Clint Smith. Clint, first of all, I'm not going to congratulate you on your race. Let's congratulate you on your, I believe it's a daughter, yes?
Yeah, it's a baby girl.
Did you consider Supa as a name for her at all? Did you consider that? It's could work. What did we name her?
We ended up naming her Paige.
Paige will work. Okay. Well, you're young. You still have more time. Consider Soup in there somewhere. I tell you, it'll change the kid's life. Let's talk about your not top 10, just outside the top 10 today. You finished in 11th, but you were running up a little higher there.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I had a bit of damage on the front of the car and the rear of the car from the start of the race, a bit of nose-to-tail contact between a few people, so that's made the car pretty bad through the race. So I pushed on as hard as I could, but unfortunately just lost the rear end coming out of one of the hairpins, and almost put it into the wall, but managed to recover it and get it back on track. So, but yeah, very disappointing. I could have finished top 10, but oh well, I'll take the 11th place.
Well, as being part of the series organizer, what do we have on tap for next time? Do you know off the top of your head without checking?
Yeah, so next time we got one for our Australian fans. We're heading to Phillip Island. So they'll be there for the sprint race. So a 15-minute heat race followed by a 45-minute race with a tyre stop in the middle of the race. So all the Australian drivers will come out, and I'm happy to announce as well there'll be a wildcard series. So all you Aussie drivers are tuning in to this stream. Keep an eye out for the wildcard entry list and get those wildcards in. And we'll get a full field for Phillip Island.
What about New Zealand drivers? They get to race?
Yeah, if they want.
Let the Kiwis race with you.
Yeah, no, they can, but unfortunately, they might be a bit slow for us Australians. But yeah, they're more than welcome to join obviously because it's an Australian-New Zealand series. So yeah.
All right, Clint. Well, congratulations. I think 11. You're in the middle of the pack there, right dead center. That's not back marker. That's mid packer. So that's good, buddy. Congratulations on your finish today, and we look forward to more events. And thanks for hosting for running this series with GSRC.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks again to GSRC for broadcasting the series. And top 10, watch out, I'm coming for you.
There you go, Clint Smith. Most important thing is he has a nice, healthy, brand new daughter, and didn't name her Supa. Okay, let's go ahead and thanks everybody here. Now pay attention, don't leave us yet. Come on, it's early morning for Amjad and I, but we're going to stay here and run these credits all the way down to the very end. You stick with us, they're important. iRacing Drivers Association for organizing the series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Hey, the sponsor, thanks to Screwed Gamers, Kart Action Media, and Zanardi Course Australia for sponsoring the broadcast. See how I slow down when we talk about the sponsors? Thanks to the companies, equipment, and software that you see on the screen right now that Amjad uses for this broadcast. The original music that you've heard today on the broadcast is from Eric Echolm and Casey Lalonde. If you haven't downloaded some of their digital stuff already, what are you waiting for? Go to the addresses you see on the screen right now. Thanks to my mic mate, Adam Young, our director, Amjad Yam, and Dougie Beard for his cam locations. If you'd like to find out more information about GSRC, your best bet is theglobalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race for the iRacing Drivers Association is in 2 weeks. That's 14 days for you guys without a calendar. That's round 7 from Phillip Island. You heard Clint Smith talk about it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a little sprint race followed by a 45-minute main event that will have a 4-tire change and a pit stop mandatory. You don't want to miss that. I'm going to be there. You want to be there with us too. And now, let all the housekeepings out of the way, it's time for us to go have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.